Good evening, welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from Anu Sabata Desawe Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, indicts former boss of the National Food and Buffer Stock Company, his wife and other officials in what he has often referred to as a rumble in the jungle. We break down what the Attorney General has been saying today. Stay with us. We'll have a reaction as well, and there's a bit more insight. Also, the former Deputy Executive Director of the National Service Authority, Gifty Owari Mensah, pleads not guilty to multiple charges, including money laundering. We'll tell you how it all went down in court earlier today. Stay with us. Also, the minority and the majority sides of Parliament clash over the return of or otherwise of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. What really is the issue? We have a conversation on this. Stay with us here on Ghana Tonight. We have more of this, and then also a reaction, and in fact, from a member of the Operation Recover All Loot Oral Preparatory Team is going to be joining us because the Attorney General says that the report they submitted did not have enough evidence for him to prosecute the cases in there, and so they would have to conduct investigations. That is what has contributed to the lack in the time, as we are seeing now. Stay with us. It's an integral part of the conversation. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
The anti-LGBTQ bill is back on the front burner in Parliament. Minority members are now accusing government of deliberate tactics to avoid passing it into law. The bill was advertised on Tuesday when the House reconvened, but it was missing the next day, with claims that the Speaker was not aware of its reintroduction. But the minority leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin insisted the bill must be brought back to the House.
Only yesterday, when we were raising this issue, Mr. Speaker, you were saying that the bill must pass. Now you are in government, you are in the hot seat. When the IMF, the World Bank, IPU threatening, you are now running away, you are saying procedure. Which mistake? There was nothing administratively in error. You force LGBT on the throat of the Akufo-Addo government. Today, you don't want LGBT. You would want it. Mube Pepa.
The Attorney General has frozen all assets believed to have been obtained from the illegal proceeds of the alleged criminal syndicate of the former Buffer Stock CEO, Abdul Hana Wahab, breaking down details of an alleged 40 million cedis loot by the former Akufo-Addo appointee. Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayine says he is filing formal charges against the former Buffer Stock CEO on Friday.
Mr. Abdul Wahab, in concert with Richard Sam Asante and Bismarck Owusu-Boakye, orchestrated a transfer of 78,269,084 Ghana cedis and 4 pesos from the bank accounts of Buffer Stock Company to a private company linked to Hanan Abdul Wahab, his wife, and staff for Buffer Stock at Republic Bank and EcoBank. We have decided to charge Mr. Hanan Abdul Wahab and his wife, Faiza Seydou Wuni, with stealing, conspiracy to steal, causing financial loss to the state, using public office for profit, obtaining public property by false statements, and money laundering.
The Accra High Court has granted former Deputy Director of the National Service Authority, Gifty Owari Mensah, a bail of 10 million cedis with 3 sureties after pleading not guilty to multiple offences, including money laundering. Oware-Mensah is accused of generating over 9,000 ghost names through which she allegedly stole more than 38 million cedis. The Adabrakat District Court has granted prosecution a warrant to arrest another suspect allegedly involved in the murder of immigration officer Stephen King Amwa. At a court hearing on Thursday, October 22, prosecution led by Chief Inspector Achana prayed for an arrest warrant after notifying the court that investigations had revealed the location of Kumi, an alleged suspect in the case. He noted that the prosecution was still waiting to forward the docket to the Attorney General. The case was adjourned to November 4. The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources is engaging key stakeholders in the implementation of new mining laws beginning 2026. So far, 300 licenses have totally been revoked for failing to follow mining rules. Sector Minister Emmanuel Amakofibua says the mining laws are part of the problems.
We are 90% completing overhauling the law. My target is that by next year, a new law that will have key provisions. For example, Maincom will not have the luxury of just issuing licenses sitting in the comfort of Accra. And they give a license in, say, Nkawie to somebody who has never been in the Ashanti region. This is his first time he's going there. And even the coordinates that they've given him, whether it's in the water body, they've given him the license. It's not going to happen again.
It's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. So it's probably brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Saxo Insecticide Spray and Qualcomm Tum Tum Precom. Coming up next year on Ghana Tonight, it is one that has been unfolding in a very interesting way. It's a rumble in the jungle as the Attorney General goes after the former buffer stock boss, his wife, and top officials. Here's what the Attorney General has been revealing. We'll give you details of that shortly, because this is something that has been brewing, and in fact, it's just a matter of time that we got to know all of this detail, because we do know that this former buffer stock boss was in the coolers of Iyoko for a number of days, just a little over a month ago. So the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Kurutinga-Ayeni, has frozen all assets believed to have been obtained from the illegal proceeds of the alleged criminal syndicate of the former buffer stock CEO, Abdul Hanan Wahab. Now, breaking down details of an alleged 40 million cedis loot by the former administration's appointee, Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayeni, says he is indeed filing formal charges against the former buffer stock CEO on Friday. That's just a day after tomorrow. Now, give a breakdown of this. We're going to show you the visual representation of it. Dennis Babay-Wadam-Espar is going to be joining me in a bit as we break it down for you and step by step, the graphical representation of how exactly, according to the Attorney General, this alleged criminal syndicate took place. And this is what he said earlier today. Take a look.
In the period between 2017 and 2024, Mr. Abdul Wahab, in concert with Richard Samasanti and Bismarck Owusu-Boakye, orchestrated a transfer of 78,269,084 Ghana cedis and 4 pesos from the bank accounts of Buffer Stock Company to a private company linked to Hanan Abdul Wahab, his wife, and staff of Buffer Stock at Republic Bank and EcoBank. We have decided to charge Mr. Hanan Abdul Wahab and his wife Pfizer Seydou Wuni with stealing, conspiracy to steal, causing financial loss to the state, using public office for profit, obtaining public property by false statements, and money laundering. We have frozen all the assets of Hanan that I have listed, including a 10 million Ghana cedis fixed deposit account at Republic Bank, Labone branch. That is the liquid assets. They also, had a lot of bags. I didn't want to list them. The wife has over 61 luxury bags. All right, name them. He himself was buying watches, some costing as much as 1.5 million Ghana cedis and so on. We have taken note of all of them, and so we've done the freezing, including those of the vehicle.
Well, so that's the Attorney General in there. Some of the detail that he gave in there in this alleged syndicate was quite shocking, and indeed it got a number of reactions. But then again, Dennis Wedam Esquire is joining me right now. If you recall, Dennis, if a little over a month ago, the buffer stock former CEO was in the coolest of Iyoko for a number of days.
Yes.
With some
it was in respect of this.
matters.
It was in respect of this same matter, actually.
So Iyoko has done the investigation, provided the Attorney General with this detail that he put out earlier today.
Precisely.
What more do we know?
And that's what you hear the Attorney General refer to, that investigation by Iyoko. He did indicate that around that time, the estimated money was in the regions of 58 million Ghana cedis. But now we are looking at an amount in the regions of 78 million Ghana cedis.
78 million?
Yes.
So that's an additional 20 million cedis.
Upon further investigations, because Attorney General says that at the time that the Iyoko had arrested him and put him in the coolest, as you would want us to describe the situation, the money was around the 58 million, but now we're dealing with 78 million Ghana cedis. But Alfred, let's understand how the Attorney General presents the situation, or what is alleged to have happened in that particular company. So now this 78 million Ghana cedis was supposed to be money that was supposed to be paid to people who supply food. Now, what we are told by the Attorney General is that there are some companies, in fact, one company which was created, and that company has links to the former CEO of the Buffer Stock Company and his wife. Right. So that when that money was paid into the account of that company, the said company then started transferring the money into other accounts. And those accounts show that or are linked to companies that are owned by the former CEO, or in some instances co-owned by the CEO and his wife, or by his wife. So that's just the general picture of it. Money paid into a third-party company. That third-party company now begins to pay the money into accounts that are linked to companies owned by the former CEO of the Buffer Stock Company and his wife, or in some instances, companies owned by him or him and his wife.
Right. But Dennis, does this modus operandi of this alleged syndicate remind you of something? Because it appears that this modus is the same that is alleged to have been employed in the Dubois case, and then also the Gift Yoweri Mensah case. You had this, Gift Yoweri Mensah had this Blocks of Life, alleged to have had this Blocks of Life company. They paid some money in there. And then this Kwabena Dubois one as well. They had that BNC as well that they had. So
you are right. The template looks the same, and that's how come when you look at the instances where
spouses were all involved, allegedly.
Yes, and okay, at least in the circumstances that in the cases that you have mentioned, the 3 cases, you have the spouses that are involved. But the point I was making is that, and that's how come that when you look at the charges that are either yet to be preferred in this instance, or the charges that have been preferred against those who are before the courts now, you find the element of money laundering. Because as the allegation is that the money keeps moving from one source to the other, the intention is to conceal the money.
Right.
And such a description fits into the description of the offense of money laundering. It doesn't just end there. The Attorney General also said that even when those monies were transferred to these accounts that are linked to the former CEO of the Buffer Stock and the wife, then there were payments. That's when they started acquiring properties, real estate properties. And they were able to trace that it was from the proceeds of such an activity that they will use to procure those properties. We'll begin to look at those properties. But essentially, that's what the Attorney General has been saying, and that's the main reason for which he's bringing the case against these persons. He described this as a rambling in the jungle, and he explains why. Because we have carried stories of the National Buffer Stock Company where suppliers complained or lamented that they were not being paid for their supplies. True. We've even had instances where they had to go and pick it there. Yeah,
there are a number of old women.
Yes, so the analogy of the Attorney General is that, I mean, we had kids who did not have, because these were suppliers of the school feeding program. So it meant that if the suppliers were not paid, the kids didn't also have food to eat when they were supposed to be entitled to such.
At some point, a number of senior high schools were complaining of that.
That's the context within which that description came into the picture. But Alfred, let's begin to look at the picture. Some of the properties that the Attorney General put there, allegedly being acquired from proceeds of crime. Let's start from here. So, the first property that allegedly has been acquired by the former CEO of the Buffer Stock and the wife is a 5-bedroom house at Chain Homes. Chain Homes, that's Airport Hills, I guess?
Yes, that's Airport Hills.
And that costs an excess of $1.6 million US. The description is that a chunk of this money was paid in cash.
Solid cash.
Cash, yes. Just some $230,000 was paid, but the rest of it was paid in cash. And the Attorney General says that alone in itself raises suspicion of money laundering. The next property is a 3-bedroom house at Cantonments. That costs $600,000. Then there are plots of land at Airport Development that cost $750,000. There's a 17-bedroom boutique hotel at Gumani in Tamale that costs some in excess of 4.1 million Ghana cedis. It continues. There's a 4-bedroom bungalow situated at Jowulu in Accra that also costs some 4.1 in excess of that million Ghana cedis. There are also a purchase of a 0.32 acre land. It's a government land. This was actually the price at which a third party bought from government. But this land was sold to these in excess of 2 million Ghana cedis.
I see.
Yes.
So this is a government land purchase.
Yes.
And then sold to them. It's
Even
alleged to have bought.
That land itself comes with its own problems because there's a web of interconnections, somebody fronting for somebody allegedly, getting the land from government, then selling it to another person. There's an instruction to the land, from the person to the Lands Commission to issue the documents in the name of
this particular individual.
This person, and later there was a change in name from the man himself to his wife. So that in itself is a whole, it's a web in itself, like I described earlier.
True.
But let's look at the companies too in question that were allegedly used to propagate this. So you see, Sotini Enterprise. No, not this slide. Okay, let's stay with this one.
All right.
This is the third-party company,
right,
which received the money and makes the transfers to the other persons, including himself, his companies, or the wife's companies. So in one of the banks, the Attorney General or Yoko, those who did the investigation, were able to establish that these are some of the transactions. That on a certain period, this Sotini Enterprise sent an amount of over 16 million Ghana cedis into the account of Hanan Abdul Wahab. The same Sotini Enterprise sent an excess of 23.9 million Ghana cedis into Al Kani Enterprise. This company, we are told, is owned by Wahab and the wife. There's also a transfer from this Sotini company to Fahausa Ventures, a company that is owned by them. Also a transfer 2 chain homes. And this is part of that transaction that we pointed out to, the purchase of the house of the $1.6 million.
I see.
So these are just excerpts of what the Attorney General has been talking about. And he eventually says that on the totality of it, in the coming days, this is what he will do.
He says by Friday, no?
Yes.
These are the charges.
He intends to prefer against them. In fact, he says that the draft charge sheet is ready. They're waiting for Friday to put them before courts. Stealing, conspiracy to steal, willfully causing financial loss to the states, using public office for profit, obtaining public property by false statements, and then money laundering.
Wow.
So we look forward to seeing how the coming days are going to look like. He says it's going to be on Friday.
And all things being equal, that's a day to wait. And let's recall exactly what the attorney, and you pull up the original, because Abdul Wahab Hanan has been responding to these the allegations or the details of the Attorney General's press conference earlier today. He put something on his Facebook page. Dennis will recall exactly what he's saying. But let's recall exactly what the Attorney General said on this buffer stock company matter, and then we'll tell you the companies that were established, because Dennis has just showed you the list of the companies that were used to, as it were, do the transfer of the money. But it appears that there's also a separate list of companies that were involved in all this web that we're talking about, that the Attorney General put earlier today. Take a look.
2017 and 2024, Mr. Abdul Wahab, in concert with Richard Samasanti and Bismarck Owusu-Boakye, orchestrated a transfer of 78,269,084 Ghana cedis and 4 pesos from the bank accounts of Buffer Stock Company to a private company linked to Hanan Abdul Wahab, his wife, and staff of Buffer Stock at Republic Bank and EcoBank. We have decided to charge Mr. Hanan Abdul Wahab and his wife, Faiza Seydou Wuni, with stealing, conspiracy to steal, causing financial loss to the state, using public office for profit, obtaining public property by false statements, and money laundering. We have frozen all the assets of Hanan that I have listed, including a 10 million Ghana cedis fixed deposit account at Republic Bank, Labone branch. That is the liquid assets. They also, had a lot of bags. I didn't want to list them. The wife has over 61 luxury bags. All right, name them. He himself was buying watches, some costing as much as 1.5 million Ghana cedis and so on. We have taken note of all of them, and so we've done the freezing, including those of the vehicle.
So that's just a picture of the 2 of the many vehicles that the Attorney General talks about that ended it there. But you hear the Attorney General, Dennis, he mentions the over 61 luxury bags and the watches costing 1.5 million cedis each. I don't think my watch costs that much. But then again,
he said one of the watches actually cost more than 1 million Ghana cedis.
Yes.
Yes, and then there are about 61 luxury bags.
But that's not listed in the
No.
that you...
We don't have that here.
Okay.
For now.
But
that in itself appears to be a lifestyle audit already.
Absolutely.
Yes. But of course, when you explore the Anti-Money Laundering Act, you'd find that once you come under investigation for money laundering, it is allowed that some of those things are explored. So it's not surprising to see the Attorney General go into that sphere of the investigation and trying to look into that side of things.
What's the list that we see behind you?
So these are the companies that allegedly are involved in this whole transaction. Most of them owned by the former boss and his wife. That's Wahab and his wife.
Okay.
Alkanai Enterprise, Aludiba Enterprise, Energy Partners Limited. So this company, Energy Partners Limited, according to the Attorney General, is one that is owned by the head of corporate affairs together with Wahab.
I think he mentioned the names, yes.
Yes.
Emmanuel.
Farhauser Ventures. I just hope I got that right. Then there's Farhauser Company Limited. There's Aludiba Foundation and Sotini Enterprise. So this was the one that's owned by the third party. So usually the money is here, and then the transfers are made to all these companies. But Alfred, let's listen to, soon after the Attorney General had made his presentation,
Yes.
Wahab took to his Facebook page to respond to what the Attorney General had been saying. So he says that my attention has been drawn to a recent statement made by the Honorable Attorney General during a press engagement in which my name was mentioned in connection with allegations of corruption. He continues to say, I wish to state respectfully that these claims are untrue and do not reflect the facts of the matter. I have no involvement in the issues being referred to, and I find the comments deeply unfortunate. I have asked my legal representatives to review the situation and advise on the appropriate steps to protect my reputation. I look forward to the opportunity to present my side and have my day in court, where I am confident that the truth will be clear. Abdul Wahab Hanan Aludiba. He continues to say, I remain faithfully committed to the principles of honesty, transparency, and integrity that have guided my work throughout my career. So this is the response from Abdul Wahab in respect of the Attorney General's press conference, alleging that he and his wife are involved in this grand corruption and matters of the
So
nature.
he says he remains fully committed to the
Yes.
the
And he's
principles
looking
of
forward to a
honesty.
day that you have the opportunity to respond or to have his say in the matters that he has allegedly been involved in.
While you pull this up, and stay with me, Dennis, I've been joined on Zoom by Martin Pebu. He's a private legal practitioner. He is a member of the Operation Recover All Loot. There's an oral preparatory team. They've wrapped up their work. We'll come to a conversation on that because the Attorney General also talked about the oral report investigation update. Counsel, good evening. Thank you for joining us. I mean, hearing this, as expected, one of the accused persons, the Attorney General, put out that this information earlier today in this buffer stock situation, has come out to say he is not guilty already, even before the AG goes to court on Friday. Beyond the Attorney General giving this information in the press conference that we saw today, he will still have to go to court, isn't it, to prove beyond reasonable doubt. The burden of proof is on him, and these people will still have their day in court, is it not?
Absolutely, yes. But let's also repeat with all the force we can master that the monies that we've seen, so let's say Edu Buahi's case, we've seen the money that has left the National Signals Bureau account and entered this account. Then from there, the money went to Mayfair Properties, etc. So even with our conviction, we can say, Edu Buahi, what is our money, government money, doing in your pocket? So please, yes, we reckon that when it comes to criminal conviction, Article 19, Clause 2 says that a person is innocent until proven guilty. So we've not said that they are guilty of any offenses here. That is for the court to determine. But as citizens, we can begin to, and we are already asking questions. Edu Buahi, what is government of Ghana money doing in your account? Who asks you to go and buy properties? Who will come and stay there? We didn't. So far, there's no evidence that he was asked to use to go and do Mayfair Properties, etc., the estates he was building. Mustafa Hamid, the man who went on national TV and said, wallahi, he would, MPP would come and salvage, come and rescue this country. He got ensnared in corruption. Yes, he has not been found guilty, but we are allowed to ask him, Mustafa Hamid, that hundreds of millions, the last time I knew it was 280 million. Now that the charges have been increased, it's possible it's gone beyond the 280 million. You and your people, what is that money doing in your private accounts, etc., the lands you've bought? Is that money, is it your salary? No. Is it your entertainment allowance? No. Is it your medical allowance? No. So we can say those things with all the strength we can master. Nobody, no court seeks to stop us as long as we don't deal with them as if they are convicted person. We haven't said they've been convicted of any offenses, but we are saying that our money has ended up with them. And so we will berate them. We will name and shame them. It's our right.
Well, and Council, talk about that particular right, and that leads us to another issue. Kindly stay with me, because something else came up earlier today, and it's still in connection with the Attorney General, because he gave an update on this NSS case. The figures involved have gone up, and then also this particular matter was a subject in the court earlier today as well. That's coming up next. Gift Owari Mensah, former deputy, that's the National Service Authority, that pleads not guilty to money laundering and more. Here's how it all unfolded in court, and we're going to tell you in a bit. Earlier today, the Accra High Court granted former Deputy Director of the National Service Authority, Gift Owari Mensah, a bail of 10 million cedis with 3 sureties after pleading not guilty to multiple offenses, including money laundering. Now, Owari Mensah is accused of generating over 9,000 ghost names, through which she's alleged to have stolen more than 38 million Ghana cedis. Dennis Poperi with Esquire still with me in the studio. Before we get the update that the Attorney General gave on this case, what do we know on this particular issue, especially taking into consideration what happened in court today?
So we do know that this actually was supposed to happen last week, Friday, but for reasons of ill health, which the court was duly notified, she was not able to appear before the court. She did so today, and upon pleading not guilty to all the charges leveled against her, she was admitted to bail, 10 million Ghana cedis, 3 sureties, 2 of whom are to be justified with landed property. As we speak, it's unclear whether she's been able to meet all the bail conditions or not. But yes, the court has granted that bail and also put her on the stop list. What it means is that she cannot go out of the country. And of course, that was a prayer made by the prosecution to ensure that she's within the jurisdiction to face the law. And indeed, even her own lawyers had prayed the court to, grant her bail, making reference to the fact that the initial investigation by the NIB, parts of it, the conditions for which she was released on bail, had to do with her surrendering her passport. So it was not even possible for her to leave the jurisdiction. So in a sense, she's on bail, and the next agenda the expectation is that prosecution will file their disclosures, and then the case will progress from there.
But it's unclear whether or not she's been able to meet the bail conditions.
That is so.
As we speak.
That is so.
That we're not aware of.
We're not aware of that as yet.
As yet.
Yeah.
So it's one that we're keeping an eye on and to see how things play out. But this was also a subject for the Attorney General's press conference earlier today. He gave an update on further investigations into this national service scandal. And this is what he said. Take a look.
In the case of the latter, we have filed charges against the former chief executive, executive director, Osea Sibe-Ntwi, and his deputy, Gift Owari. Charges are being prepared against the rest of the public officers and the so-called marketplace vendors. In all, we intend to file about 10 cases in the NSA scandal and will use some of the public officers and vendors as prosecution witnesses. Now, this is a strategy that is working very well for us, and we intend to continue to use that strategy. In a situation where there is a small criminal among big criminals, and the small criminal knows a lot, it is better as a matter of prosecutorial strategy to use a small criminal to get the information in order to be able to succeed, and that is what I'm doing. Also, I wish to announce that the Auditor General has conducted a forensic audit into the NSA, the National Service Scandal, and the total amount of money stolen or illegally spent now stands at 2.2 billion, and not the 548 million that was uncovered by my investigators as at June 2025. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I have here a copy of the Auditor General's report. Again, painstaking investigation is very important in criminal matters. And so, based upon what the Auditor General has done, and this is a forensic audit, okay? Forensic audit means that they've gone beyond what ordinary, auditing would have done. And so, we are going to, based upon this, in some cases, change the charge, amend our charge sheets in order to bring fresh charges.
Well, so that's the latest on this national service scandal. Dr. Dominic Ayeni, the Attorney General, gave in there. Dennis, so now the figure has gone up
Yes.
From a little over
548 million. Now we are looking at 2.2 billion. And he says that
billion.
their initial investigation indicated that 548 million. However, when the Auditor General did a forensic audit, it brought up the figure to 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. He also mentioned that they intend to file 10 cases. So what we know already is that one case has been filed, and that's in respect of Gifty Owari Mensah. We're also expecting that in the coming days, that of the executive director, the former executive director himself, Ose Asibe, will also be before the court. That will be 2. But for the others, we are still not sure exactly when those matters will come up. But he did indicate that the other officials of the National Service Authority are those who are going to be prosecuted. But he also mentioned that some of them, instead of prosecuting them, he will use them as prosecution witnesses. So the vendors on the marketplace, they are also persons of interest for him. They may also be prosecuted in the coming days. In all, he's looking at prosecuting 10, not 10 people, but he says 10 cases. As to whether each case will be for a person or a case can have more than one person, the coming days will disclose all of those information to us.
Very important in there. And that's one as well that we're going to keep an eye on. And then you should recall that prior to this, to today, there were calls about oral cases and what is happening, because all of this one wasn't captured, right, with the list of the oral cases that we do know. But then the Attorney General explains why there's a seeming slow pace in the prosecution of the oral cases. And he says, well, the oral reports didn't do much in terms of evidence. Let's hear from him.
Ladies and gentlemen, as far as the oral investigations are concerned, the status report is as follows. Out of the report of the oral committee submitted to my office, we instructed the National Intelligence Bureau in March 2025 to conduct investigations into cases of suspected acts of theft and graft by public officials and their allies in the private sector. The investigations were necessary because the oral committee reports did not contain the evidence required to prove the guilt of the suspects in court beyond reasonable doubt. It is always important to remember that the oral committee was tasked by His Excellency the President to receive complaints of looting of state resources.
Well, so that's the Attorney General there, and Martin Bebo is still with me. He is a member of this oral preparatory team. Counsel, you hear the Attorney General there. He says that the report you gave or you submitted did not contain enough evidence. And so those have to still go through the process of investigating some of the report details that you submitted. And that also has contributed to the seeming delay that people are seeing and complaining about in this oral cases prosecution. Is it a justifiable one, a verdict on your work?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The oral committee, oral is in stages or phases. Our mandate was basically to collect complaints and then gather these, in a readable, intelligible manner for the Attorney General, who would then look at the cases and then distribute those that will stay with him, those that will go to OSP, then those that will go to Yoko, etc., where proper investigations would then be done. So it wasn't our mandate to investigate. No, but let's say this, when we say investigations, that's even gathering the information around could be commencement of investigation. But what I'm saying is that the investigation as investigation, the one we take to court, that wasn't our mandate. So let's say if somebody brought a case concerning, so let's use the current NSA. You see, NSA, we received Brima, Suleimana Brima and his team. Then they gave us dossiers. So we took those and synthesized them, put together what we could, and then the documents they brought, and then we handed over. But there were some that you wouldn't find. So let's take National Cathedral. Yes, there were complaints about National Cathedral, but I know also that there were a lot of materials, let me call them data, on National Cathedral, the various interviews, the appearance in Parliament, Ofuriatta going to Parliament and justifying those things, those ones were able to gather and tell a story in a manner that was intelligible and to give the actual investigators the proper leads. So it's okay. The Attorney General was just reminding us that oral stage 1, the 5-member committee did not actually do investigations. The things we did were to take complaints and then the publicly available information and data we put together and then submitted. So it's fine. Yes, and it's okay. You know, it's normal. That's accountability. And you see, the Attorney General himself said that citizens were expectant. So he understands their call for accountability. And so the way they want everything to go at a breakneck speed or at the speed of light. But we also know that there's due process. I like this famous example so that we see. Remember Patty, the Black Star player. You know that his case was investigation started some years ago. To this year, it was made public, and the trial will commence when next year. So look at Patty, the Black Star player. So you see, even in the UK, they have a backlog. I'm not justifying. What I'm doing is to put it in context that there are there's a queue everywhere you go. There's a queue. It's not as if every country has just one case. So the moment you take it there, in 2 months it's done. No. So, but let's have faith. That's the thing. You see how painstaking investigations can pay off. You see today, the Attorney General mentioned that the National Service case has now ballooned from about 600 million to what? 2.2 billion. You see? And so you see now,
but Counsel, here's where the issue is, that this oral promise was an integral part of this administration's promise to the Ghanaian people ahead of election 2024. Prior to the president even being sworn into office, your committee was formed, which you were a member of, to kickstart the process. Prior to the elections, already the persons who were championing this promise of oral, listing a number of cases and estimating how much we can even get from the cases. So that influenced the public expectation as well. You did your work as a preparatory team. You handed it over. It's been almost 8 months, I think, since you handed over your report. Would you align with the public sentiments about the pace of work of the Attorney General being slow? Would you align with that?
Not, so let's do this. A bit of yes, okay, a bit of yes, but largely no. We say a bit of yes because naturally, it just tells you that human as we are, if we interrogate the system, we'll find out that we can always do things to improve. So yes, to that extent, the public is right. But largely no, because I've already underscored the point that investigations take time. Let's go back to Patty, the Black Star case, the Black Star player. You see it. Our former captain. Look at his case. Years. FIFA, Sepp Blatter, the football lovers, right? You see, Sepp Blatter, it took years for FBI to track him before eventually they got him. We could name 1,000 examples. So general investigations take time. And I made a point earlier that look at the National Service case. You see, the case was in court, and yet investigations continued. And so from about 600 million, now we're going to what? 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. So that is it. So it's also okay. You know, the good thing about citizens asking for investigations to be speeded or we should speed up investigations, that it pushes duty bearers. It causes Attorney General to think. One thing that is clear is that Attorney General needs to recruit more lawyers, right? We also need to pass new laws. The way citizens are complaining, I think the first law we have to pass in this era is the one Domlevo is calling for, that the law will stipulate that when a criminal case starts, we must finish within a certain time frame. Let's say maybe 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, but let it be very certain so that every citizen who knows the law will know that this case has started. In 2 years, we must finish. I'm not saying
And that's the time as well. That's a proposal that, could be considered. And Martin Pebo is privately opportunity. Thank you. He was a member of the oral preparatory team. Adam Senano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, and he wears another hat for our next conversation, but he's joining us in the studio. Senano, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening.
Now, listening to the Attorney General earlier today, and then following up with the public expectation, did any of the detail you had today surprise you?
Well, I've stopped being surprised. I mean, rumble in the jungle, where people suddenly think they can transfer money into their accounts and it will not be found out. I mean, that should be surprising. But after somebody bought 27 houses in 4 years, it's very difficult to get surprised.
Those houses were built. I understand.
I mean, you'll be shocked that somebody would think that they could do this and get away with it. That probably would be the surprise, that people still think they can do this kind of things and get away with it.
What does it tell you about the systemic weaknesses? Because, I mean, if there were periodic audits, for instance, at the buffer stock, we don't have to wait till administration leaves and then this is found out?
Well, yes. I think that it's not just that. I mean, when you have internal audit systems that are working, we shouldn't have this kind of result. So the follow-up question should be, where were the internal auditors and what did they find out? Was this purely when the external auditors came in as the audit, service? But the good thing is being found out. And I'm thinking that the important thing is the level of sanctions that are administered over time. If we do this more regularly, people will begin to see that there's no way you can get away with this kind of thing.
Right. We're going to go for this quick break. When we're back, Adam Senano's second hat will kick in the conversation, because earlier today, Parliament heated up as a majority and minority clashed over the return of the anti-LGBTQ plus bill. Stay with us. We're back shortly after this quick break. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Now, Parliament heated up earlier today. Majority and minority members of Parliament clashed over the return of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. What's really at stake? Now, let's take a listen to, the different perspectives expressed earlier today. Let's hear from Mama Ayariga, the majority leader, on why he's of the view that it was quite a surprise for him seeing this anti-LGBTQ plus bill back on the order paper yesterday. Take a look.
My recollection is that it was passed by Parliament already, and the issue was giving it a presidential assent. So that is where it should be taken up. I don't see why anybody should bring us a bill that we have passed already. I think the step is to push for it to be given the assent. I was at business committee. You were at business committee. Was it discussed? No, it wasn't discussed. Now, the Constitution says that if a bill is not passed and then the life of the Parliament expires, then it lapses. But this one was passed. If you don't resolve the question of what is the legal effect of our having passed it, it will be difficult to take it again on the floor.
That's one way, guy. Very interesting dimension he brings to this. But Alexander Penyomake, the minority leader, says, no way. This has to be part of the business of this session of Parliament. Take a look.
Only yesterday, when we were raising this issue, Mr. Speaker, you were saying that the bill must pass. Now you are in government, you are in the hot seat. When the IMF, the World Bank, IPU threatening, you are now running away, you are saying procedure. Which mistake? There was nothing administratively in error. You force LGBT on the throat of the Akufo-Addo government. Today, you don't want LGBT. You would want it. Mube pepper. Mube pepper, papa, papa. You use it to win election. Now, when your stakeholders, the international community is warning you, you want to run away. Run to where?
So that's happening, you're marking there. Adamson, I know he's still with us. For this conversation, he's wearing the hat of one of the lead advocates for the Advocates for Christ, one of the organizations that supported this whole anti-LGBTQ plus bill. So looking at these different perspectives, how does it strike you quickly?
Well, there are two thoughts. The first is the fact that the internal discussions in Parliament need to be harmonized. Because we did have the Speaker right from the beginning of the year talking about how he thought this could be retabled, it would go through the process, and this should be something that could be done quickly. Mm-hmm. And so to have it tabled, yesterday we had heard that some judge and some of the minority led by Reverend Tim Forjo, a number of them were pushing for it. It had been put on the agenda. And then suddenly to have this turnaround today is a bit surprising. However, from last year, I have always felt that there was a need to take this matter to court for adjudication.
What matter exactly?
Because the president's refusal to accept a bill that had been passed, I thought set a dangerous precedent. Because Parliament had finished its work. And there was not, within the Constitution, the president did not have the option he took. He had three options, according to the Constitution. Mm-hmm. He failed to take the option to receive and then give feedback to Parliament, the option to give it to the Council of State. Mm-hmm. I've forgotten what the third option was. But he appeared not to have taken any of the constitutional options and just simply said, there are some cases in court.
So he says he was waiting for the outcome of those cases.
So there's a sense in which I tend to agree with Mahama Ayariga, the majority leader, that perhaps we need to have a court, ruling.
Like the Supreme Court should.
Yes. What happens when a president refuses to accept a bill that has been passed? Because the danger is that for some other very important issue, where Parliament has finished its work, another sitting president could say, I'll do nothing. And then, depending on whether, hopefully that will not happen, whether the judiciary decides not to table the case. Because we had, from 28 February, all the way to the end of 2024, nothing was done. So there's a sense in which, even though I would have been happy, because I know the speaker and quite a number of people were intent to make this go through, I think that the majority leader has a point in terms of making sure we set the right precedent for the future.
We'll see how the coming days will look like on this. And Senano, thank you for joining us. Adam Senano is the co-chair of this Citizens Movement Against Corruption for the previous conversation.
This one, I'm the chairman for Advocates for Christ.
For the Advocates for Christ. It's a very interesting legal conversation that would ensue in the coming days. Recall the president's position on this matter. He had proposed that, this should rather be a government-backed bill instead of a private member's bill, which has now surfaced again. So we'll see how the coming days will look like. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. Join us same time tomorrow for another conversation. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior coverage, simple.